The first look trailer for the Nintendo Switch 2 just dropped, so we're gonna watch it, react to it, give our thoughts on it, and ultimately ask the question, will it be worth it? Nintendo. So we have the old Switch. So it's bigger. I mean, that's not bad. Bigger screen generally means better things. So, yeah, not really any other thoughts for that. So, that looks pretty sweet. Okay, so I think that's our first big technical change here is we have a second USB-C port. So the first Switch, which I have conveniently, what are the chances, right next to me, has the USB-C port on the bottom, which is useful. That's not a bad thing. However, adding one to the top, I don't think that necessarily, warrants a second edition of a console, but it's a nice little addition. I know if you talk to some people who would play it with the stand out, you couldn't charge it while it was, on the stand. But now, you got one on the top, so you can play while you have it on its little stand. Like that, plug it into the top. So that's a nice starting edition. Everything else looked the same. Volume, headphones, whatnot, still on there. Speaking of the stand, we now have a much better stand. And a much able to go lower stand. So we have the Joy-Cons. So they listened to us. The Joy-Cons look bigger. I mean, they are bigger. That's what they just shown here. I like the color. Honestly, so let's keep going. Let's see what else they show with the Joy-Cons. Focusing on the joystick. That is not coincidence. Okay. That's funny. I like that editing. Once again, focusing again on the joystick. Alright. So they definitely heard us talk about the joysticks and how bad they were. Because, I mean, if you owned a Switch, you know that the Joy-Cons are bad. They weren't made well. And I think their kind of little focus on the joysticks here might be referencing the problem of stick drift, as the Joy-Cons were so bad at that. Hopefully they're a little bit stronger. In fact, I did this on purpose too. This Joy-Con here, let's see if it will focus. You might notice it is missing the joystick because it broke. Our friend dropped it, not even that far, and it just snapped right off. And so, hopefully, they're emphasizing on the joysticks here means that they have fixed the issue and that overall the Joy-Con will be made a lot better. Still has buttons. There it is again. They keep referencing that. Okay, so that right there. That's one of the few things that I actually did have someone tell me about before I watched this. They are theorizing. Now, we'll see how true this will end up being. That the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons, Nintendo Switch 2 Joy-Cons that is, the little accessory they plug into, it almost looks like they're being used as a computer mouse. They're being plugged in and then slid around on a table, and it looks like, once again, that you can use it as almost a mouse. So people are theorizing maybe this will be a lot more of a web browser focused console, kind of like this weird PC console hybrid. I don't know. At first I thought the whole computer mouse thing might be stretching it, but after watching it a couple times, it does kind of look like that's what they are. So I'm interested to see where they go with that, but if it turns out that's just a fancy editing thing they're doing, I wouldn't be surprised either way. Hopefully, it also means that the little accessory piece for the Joy-Cons will be a little bit higher quality. The previous ones weren't bad, but I don't know if you found it. But when I played, it was easier to press the buttons on the top here without the accessory piece. Because the accessory piece was just like flimsy, I guess. So hopefully they've improved that. But let's get back to this video. Okay, so we'll let this go for a little bit more. Okay, so if you notice, they didn't have the typical, I don't know how to replicate it, the snap sound that the Switch 1 kind of was the theme sound effect for it. And I think we just heard what will be our theme sound effect for the Switch 2, which is kind of this magnetic click. More of this, more than the slip noise from the Switch 1. So, I think that's great. I didn't think that the sliding mechanism was bad for the first Switch. I will say, when I kind of started messing around with this, these pieces on the side, not much, but there's a little bit of wiggle. I haven't noticed any connection issues with that, but hey, maybe they saw the little bit of wiggling and said, you know what, maybe a magnetic connection will be better. I don't know, but hey, that's a good theory. I do hope that with a more, hopefully has a more direct connection, I don't know how to put it, for the Joy-Cons to the console itself, and that they'll charge faster. I don't think the Joy-Cons had necessarily terrible battery life, and I don't think they charge particularly slowly, but it would be nice to have both of those improved for the Nintendo Switch 2. Also, I love the look of the new Switch 2. It has kind of a more sleek, minimalistic style to it. It looks like a more mature version of the first one. The first one's like all bright and happy. Second one's like, hey, we're getting serious now. So I like the new look. It kind of looks a little bit like the Steam Deck, but definitely still has the Nintendo vibe to it. Yeah, see, there's that sound again. That's definitely going to be the sound effect. Okay, this was another thing I had someone tell me about. So right here we have Nintendo doing what Nintendo does. Ugh, that's a mouthful. They just casually show a new Mario Kart game. Now, I think it's pretty conclusive that this is a new Mario Kart game for a couple reasons that we'll get into. But first, I want you to notice, right here. I did not spot this. Someone else spotted this before me. Look how many starting positions there are. If I'm looking at that correctly, that is 4 rows of 6, which is 24. Is this going to be a 24-player Mario Kart game? Like, people are calling it Mario Kart 9, but knowing Nintendo, they'd probably just skip to 10. But that would be insane. Now, I personally wasn't a huge fan of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because I felt like there was just so much chaos in the game. And if I thought that was chaotic, doubling the number of racers, it would be just war. So let's just keep going here. Okay, so this is another spot you can just so clearly see that this is a new Mario Kart game. Those characters they don't even look like the old ones. That definitely has more of the Mario Wonder style to it. Great game, by the way. But these characters, they look updated. They look different. The graphics look essentially the same, but also the karts, that's not the standard kart from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That's probably the standard kart from Mario Kart 9 or 10 or whatever it is. And then also, I want to see if I can spot it. I saw someone else talk about this, but it's true. So if you look really close there, you can see Donkey Kong actually looks quite a bit different. And it's because, once again, theorizing, they're trying to base his character more on the movie, which this version of Donkey Kong in Mario Kart looks a lot more like the movie version than the typical versions we've seen from the other games. So, you know, I don't know if that's why they did it or if that's just the new direction Donkey Kong's going as a whole, but yeah, just cool similarity there. Oh, there's the hub. I mean, the hub looks like I would have guessed. Still magnetic for that little bonus accessory, I guess. 2025. So it's nice that we get it this year. So it will be backwards compatible. I think that was all but confirmed up until this point. The only thing to note really on this page is that certain Nintendo Switch games may not be supported on or fully compatible with Switch 2. My theory on that, if this is a Cadenator theory right here, they probably will all be compatible, but if it doesn't work properly because some random game you tried didn't work, they'll just go, oh yeah, see, we told you it wouldn't work properly, but we'll see. I don't know. I think that's a great way to protect yourself. Just in case you forgot to port a game properly and it doesn't work. Or maybe they're just saying that because there are some games that just didn't do good on the Switch, so why would they bother updating it to work on the Switch too? But, I mean, it's Nintendo. Nintendo is a backwards compatible gaming company. You had the GameCube worked on the Wii worked on the Wii U, then they jumped to the Switch, and the Switch is going to work on the Switch too. You got Game Boy Game Boy Advance working on DS, you got DS working on 3DS. So that's always been how Nintendo functions, so I feel like some people were concerned about this. I don't know why, but it's Nintendo. It was going to be backwards compatible. Little time to read that. Okay, so we have the Switch Direct April 2nd, so a bit of waiting, which is okay. It'll be worth it. They'll probably do, yeah, right here, series of handheld events. Do I know how to read? Hands-on events. I was thinking handheld events. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Hands-on events held around the world. So people are probably already trying the Switch 2, or if they haven't, they're about to start bringing this to cons and whatnot to show people. Gaming cons, not like con artists. So all in all, this first look trailer, it's not bad. Okay, it's the Nintendo Switch 2. We weren't expecting a brand new revolutionized console. Because that's not what Nintendo was gonna do. People who thought this was meant to be some crazy mind-boggling new console didn't have the right expectations, because Nintendo, as we said, is a backwards compatible kind of company. This next console was going to be something that the Nintendo Switch first one would be able to work well with, and so Switch 2 would just make sense. Also, I believe this is the first time we've had a Nintendo console with a sequel name. So like as in Nintendo Switch 2, which is cool. Little fun fact there. So now let's look at some of the pros and cons of what we know from this first look trailer. The biggest pro for me would be that it's bigger. The screen's bigger, the Joy-Cons are bigger, which is just all round good. Now, I wouldn't say it's anything crazy, but it's nice to have a bigger console. The second pro, which honestly, it's not a big pro, is that the Joy-Cons are bigger. However, I don't think I'll use them. It's a backwards compatible console. We clearly see that. If the Nintendo Pro controllers work with it, I'm not going to use the Joy-Cons, even if they're better, higher quality, bigger, no stick drift. They're not going to be as good as a Pro controller, and at this point, anyone who took the first Switch seriously has a Pro controller. So these updated Joy-Cons, yeah, it's a Pro, but probably not as big as we're thinking or hoping. And as for cons, once again, there's not really much information on this. The only real con I would say for this is we don't know much. The trailer didn't show a whole lot, so there's just so much we're still in the dark on, but that is very typical. This is a first look trailer. If you were expecting to have every single bit of information on this, once again, you had horrible expectations going into this, and it's your own fault. Now, as for like theories and predictions I have, or that I've seen people talk about, one of the biggest ones would be, will it have an OLED screen? In my opinion, I think it's kind of a no-brainer that it will. They already released the OLED Nintendo Switch, and if they've already made the technology and put it into a Switch, I don't see why it wouldn't be in the Switch 2. If you're wondering kind of what we mean by the OLED screen, it's just a higher quality screen to game on. It will have, I believe, less blur. It'll just have a higher quality of contrast of colors. So it's all around a good upgrade that I think we'll definitely see in the Switch 2. Now, for processing power, I know a lot of people are concerned about that. Honestly, I'm not really concerned about how powerful this machine will be. Some people have said, it's been leaked, that it will have the same power as the PS4 Pro. People are disappointed by that because we're already at the PS5 Pro. Why won't it match some of those specs? But it doesn't need to. It's Nintendo. Nintendo has never been we need to have the most powerful console. And maybe at one point they were, but today that's not their focus. Today their focus is making a good, solid game for their franchises. I mean, I think about it this way. Mario, Legend of Zelda, they make good games every time because they know that's what works. And they're consistent with it. I mean, you look at other franchises, like Call of Duty, Battlefield, they'll release a game that everyone loves, and the next year they'll release a game that everybody hates. Like, not just dislikes, passionately hates. And that's not even finished. And so Nintendo, I find, they don't want to go into this whole, oh, well, this game has crazy good graphics. Oh, this one's going to have so much open world this, open world that. They go, no, you like Mario games, so we're going to make you a fun Mario game. So this whole concern about, oh, it won't have as good of graphics and powering, that's never recently been Nintendo's focus or concern. Their concern is, will people have fun playing it? So I don't see a problem there at all. And now for the final big question. Will it be worth getting the Nintendo Switch 2? The answer is we have no idea, because there's just no way to know. We have no info. Some people are saying it's going to be about $400, which that would sound about right to me. But, you know, for me personally, if someone said, hey, are you going to get a Nintendo Switch 2 when it comes out? I would tell them, I don't know. The console by itself, I'll be honest, doesn't really make me want to go buy it when it's released. It's really going to largely depend on what games will be released with the console. Mario Kart 9 or 10 probably won't be enough for me to go buy the console. I love Mario Kart, but that's not going to be worth spending $400. You're not going to spend $460 if you have to get the game with it to play Mario Kart 9. If they announce like Mario Odyssey 2, that would be pretty cool. Now, if they want to actually make me personally buy this console the day it's released, they would announce Super Smash Bros. 6. If there was a 6th installment to that series, I would buy the console in a heartbeat. Ultimate is the greatest game, maybe of all time, and honestly, that's probably why I'm so hesitant to get the Switch 2. Because so many of my favorite games are already on the first Switch. Why would I upgrade to a console to play games that I'm already able to play? So hopefully, if the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to do good, it needs to have an absolutely all-star lineup of games that will be released with it at launch. All in all, I'm just looking forward to the console, as I love everything Nintendo does pretty much. So I'm very excited for April 2nd, where we get to see a way more, hopefully, in-depth analysis of the Nintendo Switch 2. Let me know what you think of the console in the comments below, and I will see you next time.